He didn't cry in front of anyone. He went quiet, and quiet in a man is louder than any breakdown. The first week, he convinced himself he was fine, and he was so convincing that even he believed it. He picked up his phone to text her 17 times and put it back down 17 times and called that strength. He started going to the gym at 6 in the morning, not for his body, but because moving was the only way to stop thinking. He told his friends he was good, and they believed him because they wanted to, and because he made it easy for them to. He slept on his side of the bed for 3 weeks before he let himself use the whole thing. He deleted her number and then typed it from memory into a notes app and saved it there just in case. He replayed the last conversation on a loop, trying to find the exact sentence where everything broke, and never found it. He wasn't angry at her. He was angry at himself for not seeing it coming and for seeing it coming and staying anyway. He started cleaning the apartment obsessively because controlling the space was the only thing that felt controllable. He told himself he didn't miss her, he missed the routine, and he almost believed it. He drove past the restaurant where they had their first date and didn't slow down, and then circled the block and drove past again. He started a new project, a new habit, a new goal, not because he wanted any of them, but because starting things felt like moving forward. He was fine at work, completely functional, even impressive, and fell apart in the car on the way home every single day. He didn't talk about it, not because he was suppressing it, but because he genuinely didn't have the words, and nobody ever taught him how to find them. He watched her stories without meaning to, and then turned his phone over and stared at the ceiling for 20 minutes. He made himself a full meal for the first time in 2 weeks and ate it standing over the sink and felt oddly proud of himself. He called his mother, not to talk about it, but just to hear a voice that had always been on his side. He thought about texting her something casual just to see if she'd respond, and then recognized exactly what he was doing and put the phone in another room. He started noticing other women and felt guilty about it for reasons he couldn't fully explain even to himself. He went out with friends and laughed genuinely for the first time, and then felt strange about the laughing on the drive home. He realized he had spent so long being who she needed that he had lost track of who he actually was before her. He found one of her things in a drawer and held it for a long time, and put it in a box and put the box in a closet and told himself that was closure. He stopped checking her social media, not because he didn't want to, but because every time he did, he felt worse, and he was finally tired of feeling worse. He started sleeping through the night and woke up the first morning it happened, surprised that his body had decided to heal without asking his permission. He had one bad night 4 weeks in that felt like going back to week 1, and he got through it, and it meant more than all the good days combined. He started to understand that the anger he felt wasn't really about her, it was about every time he'd made himself smaller to keep the peace. He let himself be sad, without immediately trying to fix the sadness, and that was harder than everything else he had done in the past month. He talked to one person about it, really talked, and the relief was so immediate and so enormous that he couldn't believe he'd been carrying it alone. He stopped replaying the last conversation and started asking what he actually wanted from the next one, with someone new, with himself. He went somewhere they used to go together and ordered what he always ordered and sat where he always sat, and it was uncomfortable, and then it was just dinner. He realized the version of himself during the relationship had been performing stability for her, and the version of himself now was actually building it. He stopped explaining the breakup to people and started simply saying it didn't work out and meaning it without needing them to understand the full story. He noticed that he was funnier than he had been in months and traced it back and realized he had been editing himself around her without knowing it. He stopped waiting for an apology he was never going to receive and understood for the first time that closure was something he was going to have to build himself. He started saying no to things he didn't want to do and yes to things he did, and realized he had inverted those two for most of the relationship. He let a good day be a good day, without treating it as evidence that he was over it or as a betrayal of how much it had mattered. He called the friend he had been less present for during the relationship and didn't explain himself and just showed back up,
and that was enough. He sat with the specific fear that he would never feel that way about anyone again, and examined it honestly and decided it wasn't a reason to go back. He accepted that some of it was his fault, and some of it was hers, and most of it was just two people who stopped being right for each other, and none of that made it hurt less. He started asking himself what he actually wanted in a relationship, instead of asking himself what he needed to become to keep someone. He had a dream about her and woke up reaching for his phone and set it back down, and that felt like progress in a way he couldn't have explained 3 weeks ago. He met someone interesting and didn't pursue it, not because he wasn't ready, but because he wanted to be sure he was choosing from wholeness and not from loneliness. He stopped performing okayness for the people around him and just was, some days okay, some days not, and it cost less energy than the performance had. He understood finally that loving someone and being right for someone were two completely different things, and that he had spent months confusing them. He looked in the mirror one morning and recognized the person looking back and realized he hadn't been able to do that for a long time. He let himself want things again, specific things, real things, and the wanting felt like the first sign of something returning that he thought the relationship had taken permanently. He stopped measuring his progress by how often he thought about her and started measuring it by how often he thought about what came next. He wasn't over it, he knew he wasn't over it, but he was through the part where not being over it controlled everything, and that was enough for now. He was going to be okay. Not the same, not untouched, not unchanged, but okay. And for the first time, he actually believed it instead of just saying it.